We're back in the workshop making videos at last. Land Rover has made it back in the workshop. We have spent 3 weeks tidying this workshop. Counted all of our nuts and bolts out, which will be a massive game changer in when you're working on projects, being able to walk straight up to the bolts and go, I want an M10 long. And so we've still got a ferret gearbox on the bench we're rebuilding, and the Land Rover has made it back in. But we've got a plan to change how we put videos out a little bit. That'll make it a bit easier for you guys to carry on watching and for us to put together. So let's sit down and have a chat. So we thought we'd join you for a cup of coffee while we kind of explain with cake our new kind of video system that we've got going on. I'm trying to do a wiring diagram while we do this, but we live in Norfolk, so phone signal is about 250 miles that way.
Yeah, carrier pigeon.
Ironically though, we can see the mast. It's only over there.
Yeah.
So Tinkering Tuesdays works, we enjoy that. Getting something on the workbench and taking it apart and fixing it.
Yeah.
And then we thought, well, that makes that really long sometimes. If we've taken the engine out and now we've got that on the workbench, the time you give that, we're like 2 hours into a video. The other trouble with that is we wait so long on parts, don't we? We all know we'll take something apart and think, right, we need this. And it's a case of, can we get that? Not yet. Is that bearing obtainable? Yes, but it's £400. We can't afford that yet. So it kind of gets boxed up, put on the shelf, and then we'll get on to something else. So then once the money's saved up, it comes off the shelf, back on the workbench, and we'll finish it off. We've probably got 15 different videos, you know, half edited, waiting for bits to happen, and then we can carry on.
Yeah, we can be weeks, if not months, waiting for parts to turn up because, well, these are quite rare. Like an assembly could be quite, or a pump or something to bolt on can be quite rare because it was only ever used on this. Or if it wasn't, well, guess what? It's probably then aircraft grade.
Yeah.
That's a lot of chieftain for you. So it can be weeks, if not months, tracking parts down. And because it will be, okay, this bearing has gone, or this seal has failed, let's find this seal, not this bearing, not just the whole part. But that's what makes us us.
Yeah.
But it does mean there can be, let's say, yeah, months from this thing has come apart to this thing goes back together. And it can screw with filming it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it then just sits on the shelf for ages. Oh, we've spent this week taking this apart and filming it, but it hasn't gone back together. Yet, so we haven't really got a video. So Tinkering Tuesday, I think, is staying, and it's going to be, here's this thing on the bench. It's narrowing down a little bit, back to what it originally was.
It was what I started.
Yeah.
I used to pull up a bench, give me a table, and think, what am I fixing tonight?
Yeah.
My first ever one I filmed on New Year's Eve. I looked up for the camera and went, oh, Happy New Year, and carried on.
Yeah, and it will be just the bench stuff.
And then we'll move over to a Tinkering Weekly. So, what do we get up to? Some bits probably a bit boring, and we'll show a bit less of that, but we'll show you know what we've been up to today. So it's sort of Monday to Friday. So this week, what we're doing, Lander is back in the workshop. Probably done 2,500 miles now in 6 weeks, which is not bad going. But there's just a few modern comforts we're going to add to it, but keeping her what she is, so a boiling vessel.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
An actual military intercom system, so we're not shouting at each other.
Yeah, Defender's alright if you're popping to the shop, but she's auto, which makes it worse, because she's always revvy. You can't drop it down to fifth and drop the revs back so much.
No, and a short journey for us is about 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, so kind of what we drop us in the comments, let us know. Obviously this video will be a Tinkering Weekly. I'm expecting it to go out on Sunday morning.
Not quite sure yet.
Not sure.
Because obviously Tinkering Tuesday, the name works so well, that's staying on Tuesday. But we also want to still do the bigger videos that we have been doing. So there's still those 2 videos. So that one might, ideally, is every week as well.
Yeah.
If we haven't, let's say, pulled the engine out of a Chieftain and gone through it, well, and we've been spending half a week tidying the workshop, well, we might not have done a big project this week, but we've still done something. And previously that something would have just not been filmed. Because we enjoy doing the big things. We go, here's a tank, we're tinkering with tanks, that's the name, not we're sweeping the workshop.
Yeah, like this week we've got some fab work to do and stuff.
Yeah, lots of little jobs, but the little jobs do add up, and before you know it, a week's gone by. And we've gone,
Haven't filmed anything. Whereas we kind of just film what we get up to.
We're always filming.
Yeah.
And we've still, the big things are upcoming. We've still got some work on the CET. That will end up being, so you'll see that a bit in the Tinkering Weekly, but there'll also be a standalone video on that, a bit more in depth, in detail. So that will still stay. But
effectively, some weeks you might end up with 3 videos. Some weeks only 2, some only 1. There'll always be 1. Hoping for 2, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not just us in the workshop. It's us behind the camera as well. We're doing all the setup. We're doing, okay, does the lighting work in here? We're putting all the video. We're doing all the editing. It is just the 2 of us doing everything you see. So yeah, we do. So at the museum, we do have our group of volunteers, and so people are doing other stuff in the background. But not everyone has happened to be in front of the camera. So we're filming. So yeah, everything you see that's filmed is us.
Yeah.
Us over Josh when he turns up.
Yeah.
Slacker.
Yeah, Josh.
Slacker. So it's not just the. Christ, we probably do 12, if not longer, hour days from the Monday to Friday.
Yeah. Well, I think yesterday.
12 to 12, pretty much. If not longer.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean necessarily we've got all the time in the world to get an edit done. Because some of these bigger videos, let's say the video is 45 minutes long, well that could be 6-7 hours of editing. That could just be 6-7 hours of footage.
Yeah.
Before you know it, we've spent days cutting it down.
Yeah.
But we're hoping to be more consistent.
Yeah, definitely. But let us know, perhaps the Tinkering Weekly is not what you want to see. In which case, let us know, and then we won't
do it.
There's no point doing it if you don't want to watch it.
You enjoyed that, Kate?
I did, quite good. So, it's Tuesday. And we're in the workshop. Today is Land Rover. Land Rover's now been on the road nearly 2 months. It's done nearly 2,500 miles. We have been busy.
Everywhere.
We have been everywhere. And we've still got places to go, people to see. There's a few things we need to do to it. So we've noticed, since put it on the road, the front diff is not quite up to snuff. We've got a lot of backlash on there, and the flange isn't tight on the pinion. So today we're going to pull the diff off. We've already stripped all the sides out and got all the discs and stuff off the outside, because you've already seen that in a previous video. We don't want to show you the same thing multiple times. Another thing we need to do to the Land Rover is we want to make a 12-24 volt for a few reasons. One's very justifiable. We want to get a boarding vessel in it.
Yeah, that's the most important reason.
Be able to jump other vehicles will be handy with a 24 volt system. And being auto, she's always up there in the rev range. So we quite often find ourselves shouting to each other.
Yeah, and the tyres don't help with that.
No, the big chunky Goodyear G90 tyres are quite noisy. So we're going to stick an intercom system into her, so we're not shouting to each other. Because when you're doing like 9-hour drives into Defender, just being able to chat to the person next door to you is quite nice.
We also found we did want the ear protection after about 3 hours on the road.
Yeah, the gearbox does whine, and we'll come to that and why it does that when we get underneath. So underneath the front of the Land Rover, there is our diff. And Josh, if you give that flange a wiggle. That is not ideal. So, I've lived a diff out of Land Rover for a few years now. I can't really remember how heavy they are. I think they're reasonably heavy.
Heavy enough.
But so we are all unbolted. So effectively, we've got the prop shaft removed that is from the transfer box, which is back here, and that's what drives the diff. That then in turn drives the wheels. So where do we stick you guys? So we've got one more nut to get off, which I left there. It'll be fairly stuck on, so it's not going to fall off.
Yeah.
Let's undo that. Now bang him upwards. Give a bit of the old copper hammer action.
Move it. You can get there.
Annoyingly, its gasket sealed onto hell, so it's like glued on, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, push it up again. Yep.
That's got to have gone at this point.
Now it's just a case of getting it off square. Oh, that's manky. It's on my lap. Oh. Out comes Josh carrying the diff.
I can't move too vigorously.
No?
No, because it hurts.
Ow. Don't put in your keys.
Yeah.
Right, let's get it on the workbench.
We've now just spent far too much time emptying a stillage crate onto a bonnet. And it may, to the untrained eye, look like we've just tipped everything out. But it is sorted, I think. So this is everything we've got to fit over the next 2 weeks. And as Aaron has been playing around with the diff, with a camera over there, that is a Tinkering Tuesday, he's on a bench. I've been making a start, interior wise. Being a military Land Rover, we've got this racking behind the seats as part of the roll cage, and we thought we'd use it. So I fitted already the first couple of bits of radio box. So we have an intercom, talk to each other, because as we've said, this thing is quite loud to be in. Not particularly fun after a couple of hours. You lose your voice after about 3, and after about 4, when you go to sleep at night, you can still hear it. So that's them starting to go in, and we've got boiling vessel. So that's the rack for it. He's going to mount there, but being a Land Rover, these aren't fitted with a boiling vessel from factory, so we've had to improvise. And that is where this comes in. You can see it in the light. That is a boiling vessel relay. And heat is going to mount there. So I'll prop you up somewhere and I'll get this bolted in. And because we've managed to reuse or repurpose a radio backing tray, they use for like mounting, say, all sorts of radio bits, it bolts straight to the racking. So that's on. Boiling vessel, we're going to mount down a bit lower, so you can still put water in it, but high up enough that you can put your mug under it. And then we've got a couple of 24-volt inverters that they're going to mount on the back behind the seats. You might be wondering, why are we doing all this? We've got many miles that we have to do in this Land Rover, most of which will be overnight camp outs. So let's make it civilised and make it so you can kind of live in it. And no, it's not going to be an all sing and dance and overland explorer, but it will look right if we need to parked at a military show, and we're not going to be miserable, which I think is really important. So I need to go get the next few bits. These inverters don't fit that racking particularly well. So they're not radio. So we're making a backing plate for it, especially as we're mounting it on the back of the racking, not the front, so there's a return lip to get over.
So other than this bearing we've got to cut off now, that's the carry then, fully stripped.
I've now cut this plate. The idea being, he's going to mount
this bearing up here,
like so, behind that. And so it's only 1.2 and it's going to be spaced off a bit. So to stiffen it up a bit, we'll put a couple of lips on, which is what these yellow lines are. So I'll mount this in here.
The diff forward, I've got a couple of bearings just knock out of here.
One little bit of bending later, and that has now got two lips on, and that just will stop that from flexing. So what I now need to do is measure out, mark out all the holes it now needs drilled in it. Probably 8. First 4 are easy because they'll be there. That's the 4 points for that to actually screw to this, and then I've got to mark some holes so that will then bolt into the racking.
It's Wednesday, we're in the workshop making lots of noise. So, I'd love to tell you what I'm up to, but I don't really know. I've got to make a battery box. I wanted to put the batteries underneath the driver's seat of the Defender, the two 24-volt batteries, to save load space in the rear. There isn't enough room, so I'm going to go for a split battery box and have one either side in the rear bulkhead in the rear. That means they're going to need an enclosed box so they don't arc out if we're going to the steel stockist and buying sheets of steel and stuff. We don't want them arcing out across the battery terminals. So I've got the idea in my head and I'm just measuring and running with it, and we'll see where we end up. So 14 I think I measured.
You might be wondering what all that noise was about. So we spent Tuesday evening brainstorming, which is a dangerous game that, and we were brainstorming where to put the batteries, the 24-volt system. So obviously Land Rover, you've got your normal batteries under the passenger seat, and we were thinking, can you get two batteries underneath the driver's seat? And because of what we wanted to do, they need to be fairly large batteries. We're looking at 663 and 664 batteries is typically what we use. And the answer is no. You can't get two under here. They're just too big. And we don't really want to run smaller batteries because of, well, we've got a boiling vessel to charge, we've got inverters to run. The idea with the inverters is we can hopefully leave them on overnight if we ever need to charge tools or phones, if we're away from site. And also we'll probably end up using this vehicle, if it's got a 24-volt system, to jumpstart vehicles. And big batteries will help with that because the alternator on the Land Rover is only 50 amp continuous. It's not the biggest alternator in the world. So we're brainstorming, where else can we put them? We were thinking maybe in a side locker. We thought that's a lot of room to... It's a waste to lose a locker on the batteries, because you can always get to them. The batteries you don't need to. We can't just put them in the bed like a normal FFR because we need the bed length. This vehicle's got around its keep. So we've decided to mount, we were thinking, can we put them up on the ledge? So kind of here-ish, above the battery box. Well, by the time you put the bracing in, you only fit one in there. It's not quite big enough for two. So we've gone for ferret style, one battery either side. So what Aaron's been cutting out is the sides for our battery box. I'll run you through them a bit later. But what I've been doing, whilst he's been doing that, is fitting some more interior panels. So I've now wired in the radio boxes. So there's the two crew boxes there and there. IB3 has been bolted to the back. One of the inverters is now bolted in loosely. And if I then wander all the way over here on this bench, I've got a master switch for the system. He's not bolted in yet because I just need to whip the cover off and give him a clean, which I thought I'd bring you along for. So if I pop you down somewhere, so if I then pull these two screws out, you can have a look, and actually he's looking fairly clean. Let's just clean these up.
Yeah, I think it is the seat. You know what? The thing is, because we may have moved it, have a look at the pipe. My idea has worked. We do have now a battery box. No lid yet. But we need two, so let's make the second one together. So you saw me cut it all out, and now a stack of bits in flat pack form. So let's go through the process. Let's prep them ready for welding, and then let's weld them together. We're going to use two different welders. We're going to use a MIG welder to tack it, and then a TIG welder to weld it all together. Don't know why, I just find that a little easier. And MIG's a lot easier to tack. So this is the first plate. This is one of the ends. So when they're freshly cut with grinder, you get the burr on them. And then all the stuff, so they need prepping ready. Now what I use is one of these discs. A deburring finisher. That's like a really hard foam. But linishing inside the panel and then getting all this off, it works awesome. So you may wonder, what is the point of the fancy disc? Why not a grinding stone or, you know, a flap wheel? When you're dealing with thin sheet metal, it's quite easy to suddenly take a load of material off, especially the edge as it catches and digs in. Before you know it, where you want to weld is now paper thin. Whereas one of them discs doesn't take any material off at all. So in sheet metal, it's lovely. If you're doing thick chunky steel, and then you maybe need a bit of weld prep there, and then a flat wheel, grinder wheel, get that in there and do your weld prep and clean the burrs off. But sheet metal, one of them is awesome. It lasts forever. We've had that one now for a couple of years. So you'll now see that it's clean around the outside of the plate. And what I've done for that is, because we're TIG welding it, is I've run a Scotch-Brite wheel over it as well. That'll just stop impurities and stuff coming off the sheet, because it's a little rusty. Sat in stock now for quite a while, wicking into the weld. So we're going to clamp the bottom piece to the vise now, and then with a bit of squeezing around each other, and Josh helping hold the angle, whatever you call it, square. That's not a square shape.
Set square.
Set square. We'll see if we can start tacking this one together. We've got two clamps. Let's get unclutter the bench so you can join us on the bench a bit easier. have to try and get it nice and straight. We shall clamp him to the vise bench. Okay, we don't have fancy welding tables and stuff. We don't really do enough fabrication to warrant. I'd love one, but we don't really do enough to warrant it. So Josh holds him on. We've got our set square. Where each needs to be. Ready?
Yep. Set the glove on fire.
Ready?
That really set the glove on fire.
Oh. Ready?
Yep.
And then one more. Because I've got the welder set quite hot, so it doesn't need a lot to tack. But you burn your hand.
Just burn my finger through the glove.
You burn your finger through the welding glove.
Through the welding glove.
Josh's don't have a lot of luck. You've burnt your finger through the welding glove. I've set other Josh on fire with the welder. That'll be a story time one day.
Shoddy equipment.
That will be a story time. The time I set Josh on fire. And how he dared not say anything or move. So again now it's just repeating the process to get the other side on. So our side there. Yep, ready?
Yep. And then kind of middling.
Yep.
And then end.
Ready?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll continue, we'll now tack on the extras the other side. So that'll give us 4 sides to our box. And then we've got to clamp and square it up. We've squared the bottom up, but the top can be leaning over or twisted. So we'll get the last side on, and then we'll show you squaring it up. 3 sides now tacked, we've got to do this side. So I've got a 90-degree clamp, but it's a case of squaring it up.
So he wants to get out of it.
Then checking this side out in a bit. Yeah?
Yeah.
Double checking.
Yeah, happy with that.
And then oh, right. Bit of a gap there, but so MIG welder, where your wire comes out into it, and this melts, and then you add the filler rod yourself. When we get to the bottom, probably won't actually have to add any filler material. And again, we've got a pedal, which is probably dark down here, but we can adjust the ampage we're welding it on the pedal rather than just have one constant. That's why I quite like TIG, really. But you end up with quite a small little weld, which is perfect really, what we want for the battery box, whereas a MIG would be slightly bigger. and a bit of a nastier looking weld really, especially what's joining two sheet metal bits together, and it'll warp it to absolute hell. TIG weld is quite a bit softer, so it linishes a bit nicer and quicker. So we're going to try a time lapse. See what you guys think to this. Let us know in the comments. It's now Thursday, and that's all welded up. It's bloody hot. I don't want to touch it yet, and I want my dinner. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. It's Friday. Not a good one though.
It's a sunny one.
It's a sunny one, the weather is good.
So we're indoors.
But yeah, we're indoors, in the workshop. We're taking the engine out of the Land Rover, which has got a bit drastic very quickly. I think Josh will agree.
Yeah, we're halfway through our 2-week programme and it's suddenly engine out.
Yeah, so we'd allocated 2 weeks for the Land Rover in the workshop. We knew the front diff needed doing, and we knew that sort of stuff, and all the other stuff you saw, we've allocated time for that. Our radiator, so while servicing engine, our radiator, not ideal.
No, it's falling apart.
Yeah. So we're going to replace that for Performance Alley one. Sure. Actually, not that much different in price than a genuine one.
No, hopefully it's better as well.
I noticed some of the cheapest sort of £100 bracketed radiators were only 2 core, and Land Rover originally were 3 core.
We're going 4.
We're going 4 core, all TIG welded alley one, which will do the job. But you don't take the engine out of the radiator. We've got a head gasket, we believe, gone. Probably gone.
Yeah.
In joining a few dots together, no, T's together, dot a few I's. She's done a few miles. We don't know the history of that engine, and she's not quite got the grunt she did once have. I say that like it's only been on the road 6 weeks.
Yeah, but we've done like 2,000 miles.
We've done 2,500 miles in it now.
And it now runs a little hotter than normal.
Yeah.
We think we're now using a bit more fuel than we first were.
Yeah. And the gearbox oil cooler was in the wrong place.
Which we'll now show you.
Which we'll show you. And I think that's why we cooked it. So, let's pull the engine out. Because she's auto, she needs a gearbox cooler, which you can see down there. And that is currently under the bumper with the pipes hanging down. So our lowest point is currently an oil pipe attached to quite a fragile radiator. It used to be there. Before the radiator paint got painted, you can see where the paint didn't reach. And towing heavy on auto, as the oil goes through the gearbox, it generates heat. And because the two radiators are next door to each other, they were cooking each other. The gearbox oil was getting hot, which was cooking the radiator. The engine was then getting hotter, then transferring more heat to the gearbox cooler. And we tweaked pretty early on that in that journey that, hang on a minute, our engine's getting warm at the same time as our gearbox is overheating. So we then turned the bracket upside down, and that's what got us the cooler down here. That's what caused it, I think. Well, turn it down, improved gearbox cooling immensely. We've had it come on, the gearbox overheat like once since.
Come out of Grantham. Big old hill.
And that is a big old hill. So, same journey actually. I think that we've probably cooked the head gasket. We lose no coolant, nothing like that. We know this is an old engine. We don't know the history of it. We brought it in a Discovery that had rolled over. So if we haven't done one, then I don't think it's a problem changing it. And we have done one, well, we've got the gaskets and we're taking it out to change. But to do the head gasket, we're going to take the engine out, because one of the other jobs is the rear engine main seal. We either drop the gearbox and do the main seal, then do the head in situ, or it's a lot quicker and easier to pull the engine out and leave the gearbox behind and do the main seal. So, very drastic. Not what we were expecting to do today. So I'm going to start on the front end. I'm going to pull the radiator panel off, and then we'll start disconnecting the radiator pack, and I'll join you back when we get to the radiator. And Josh's going to start down the back of the engine, sort of disconnecting some of the wiring loom and stuff, the bits that you can't particularly see. But, so yeah, I'll start here. So I've got the front cowling and all of the grill and tin work taken off. Now we can get to our radiator. If Josh lifts him out, now we've started to use it, you can really see the fins are gone. But as opposed to some good ones, they just rot out. They are just, they're gone. They are just rotting away. And the vibration of us driving is just crumbling these to pieces. Because it looked alright when we put it in, didn't it?
Yeah.
It did look alright. I mean, God, look at this side. I'm all the way through the radiator. With no, yeah,
How many screwdrivers?
with no fins. So here.
There might be some decent ones here.
Again, I'm through the radiator the whole way through. So they're good.
They're not. They're going.
And you know what? The middle ones are rotten worse than the outer ones. So now we can get access to the front of the engine. Josh, I'll turn that over for Josh while he then undoes the flex plate, and he'll show you undoing the flex plates. When we take the engine out, we leave the torque converter behind. Now we've got to do these flex plate bolts so we can separate from the engine to the gearbox. And they are... So the start motor is removed out of the way through here. So Josh turns the engine over for us. Oh, I can just see it there. Keep going. A bit more. Whoa. Ratchet through the small hole. There's a little cutout for it. It's now finger tight. Pretended to be finger tight. And he's in the bottom of the bell housing, ready for us when we split the engine and gearbox.
With his three mates.
No, no. I didn't drop all four. I've got one in my hand. They're a bit of a place to get to. Yeah. Right then, bow housing next. You done the exhaust?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pulling off, but he's done.
Exhaust off.
Gaskets on the floor.
Gearbox all next. So 2 bell housing bolts left. Forklifts in place. About time we lift it out. It's now 8:30 on a Friday. So we ain't far away from being done. So I should be taking a little bit of weight at the forklift for a second. Right, Josh. Well, now I lift the jack up, the 2 bell housing bolts out. You show the camera in here in a second. Yeah. So I've now undone the last of the bell housing bolts, and we are now loose. You can bring us up a minute, Josh. Yeah, there with me. Tilt back. Let's make a mess of the floor. Clear the ring. Clear the ring. Engine is out of the Land Rover. Now we need to get engine and forklift out of the workshop because she could do with a good wash. So, join us back once we've played Tetris. As I perch on the front of the Land Rover, it's now late on Friday and we are done for the week. Josh has now gone home, rest for the weekend and do a bit of video editing. And I shall do the same, probably head back Sunday and do something with the engine. That's the plan. See how well we get. Maybe we'll paint it, maybe we won't. We're in a bit tight for time, but I don't like doing things half jobbed. So see what time we get and see how we get on. Hopefully Monday should bring us delivery of diff pre-built bearings and stuff for the diff and the head gasket kit and a radiator. But let us know in the comment section, how did you find Tinkering Weekly? I've edited some of it now, so I don't think we filmed it particularly well. We didn't get the hang of keep hit and record, but we'll get better and get in the habit of just recording day-to-day workshop. But for now, we'll see you guys in the next one.